Let the games begin!
American Gladiators is one of the most intense competition-based shows in American television history. Initially airing in September of 1989, the series pinned amateur and somewhat experienced athletes against what the show called gladiators. These gladiators are the best example of what a serious athlete looks like. But they don't just have what they need in the looks department. Their bodies were built up to be some of the toughest competitors the show had to offer. There were also special episodes involving competitors from the military. They would have people from the Navy, Army, and the Marines going up against the gladiators. Included in those special episodes, they also had the NYPD versus LAPD, USC versus Notre Dame, and episodes similar to that nature. The show was all about the games and who was the best. Those games included Pyramid, Hang Tough, Joust, Tug of War, Swing Shot, Sky Track, The Wall, Powerball, Assault, Whiplash, and Gauntlet, just to name a few. The show was set up so the women amateurs were pinned against the female gladiators and the men against the men. The gladiators didn't make it easy for the amateurs, to say the least. Just as the title states, the show was all about the gladiators. A great aspect about the show was the fact that there was so much diversity within the gladiators themselves. Men and women alike, they were built to be the strongest competitors America had to offer. Being some of the strongest competitors America had to offer, they needed some nicknames to go along with that title. On the men's side, there were people like Gemini, Nitro, Laser, Thunder, Tower, and Malibu. On the women's side, there was Lace, Zap, Sunny, Blaze, Diamond, and Ice. These competitors are what really made the show. Without them, American Gladiator would have never been as popular as it was. Every time any athlete, either from the professional side or from the amateur side, would enter the game field, it was serious business. Just looking at the way they move and push themselves, everyone on camera was giving it their all, pushing themselves physically as much as they could to win against the gladiators. Initially, in the beginning half of Season 1, it was said that there was not an actual winning prize. Those who won were supposed to be rewarded by becoming a gladiator. But that never carried out. From that point on, winners would receive cash prizes. Starting at the bottom, those who lost in the semifinals were guaranteed around $2,500. Those who were runner-up in the semifinal won around $5,000. Those who made it to the half-season finale would win around $10,000. And on top of it all, competitors who became grand champions, $15,000 or more. Adjusted for inflation, the lowest price at the time would be worth $5,212, and the highest prize would be worth over $31,000. For just about anyone, that would be more than enough motivation and compensation to compete at the highest of their physical ability. But just watching the show, it became so much more than that. American Gladiators is tough and rough, and I mean rough. In hindsight, most competitors signed up with the money as their biggest motivation. But when people were inside the arena, their competitive spirit took over. At times, the show became a little too real. People would compete, but they would forget the fact that in the end, it was only just a show. At times, things would get ugly. An event would occur or a gladiator was unnecessarily rough and competitors took it a little too personal. That's not to say that this would happen in every single episode. The majority of the time, there were many good sports and quality athletes who knew how to handle a loss. But from time to time, it would happen where the people involved would get nasty to one another. The competitors would almost completely lose sight of the main reason why they had signed up in the first place and made it a priority to try to pummel one another. Of course, the gladiators being gladiators, there was absolutely no way they were going to just sit there and take it. Most times, they fought back, and sometimes as violently as they could get away with. This heat doesn't always start from the competitor's side either. At times, the gladiators initiate the violence. Something happens between one another, either backstage or on screen, that rubs the gladiators the wrong way, and they eventually took out their anger somewhere. One of the most infamous gladiators who was guilty of this was known as Turbo. Turbo is one of the toughest gladiators in American Gladiator history. Turbo has been involved in several different situations where he has some of the ugliest incidents throughout the show's history. That being said, he still always put on a hell of a show. This show is such an interesting example of how easily people get in a specific mindset that can't be turned off until they get some time to cool off. This is increasingly more surprising as the majority of these incidents occur in front of a live audience, along with being in front of cameras that were recording their every move, knowing well that their actions could possibly be aired on national television. In the end, there was almost never a bad episode of American Gladiators. The show went on for several seasons until the original show aired its last episode on May 11th of 1996. There was an eventual revival of the show in 2008, but it never managed to capture the charm of the original. It just goes to show that competitive human nature has a tendency to get the best of us, regardless of environment, situation, or reason. Even the best athletes in the world have their off days too. Hey guys, Drew here. Thanks for watching the video. Lately I've been sticking with the nostalgia kind of theme, and I might keep up with it, I might not. If there's anything in particular you guys want me to make a video about, feel free to drop me a comment down below about it. I'm open to anything, and I read every suggestion. If you're interested in anything else I'm working on, check out my Instagram, it's right there on the screen. And as always, thanks, and we'll see you next time.